Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald, Jennifer Finley. Here. Jim Molitor. Carol Langford. Danielle Matt. Here. Bing Matt.
Yeah.
Martin Charlo.
Present.
Len Tuteeth.
Bing, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
I'm wanting to make sure Bing is on.
It might not work.
I have a prayer. Can you give us a prayer, Martin? I'd appreciate it.
Ask for those have lost loved ones lately, especially the loss of kids. Prayers for all of our elders, our kids, having snow in the mountains.
When we have minutes from March 4th to take a look at. Everybody. Go ahead, Martin.
On page 2. When I'm talking about the passenger rail, it is to reestablish the passenger route on the southern rail, formerly called the Hiawatha, Southern Hiawatha. Thank you. And I'll email that to you, Abby.
Thought I would entertain a motion. Accept the minutes with corrections. All in favor? All for. Jennifer abstains. Agenda for today. Any additions? Jennifer?
Yes, I have one for open.
James? To accept the agenda. Motion by Jimmy. Second by Danielle. All in favor? Unanimous. We'll go to our walk-in. Tracy Littlewolf. Good morning, come on up. Seat, and if you would turn one of the microphones on as you speak. Just turn a microphone on in front of you. There you go, perfect.
Pescia. My name is Tracy Littlewolf. I am the granddaughter of Adeline and Anton Joscom. I am current student at SKC in the Tribal Historic Preservation Program. I'm here to address the current situation to clearly articulate my stance on the matter concerning the termination of David Spear. Please consider this. David plays a crucial role in fostering connections and providing support to the Tuigo students as well as to those at Salish Kootenai College. He effectively serves as a liaison, bridging the gap between our community and SKC. His commitment to future accomplishments is clearly demonstrated by his ongoing initiatives aimed at recognizing and amplifying the perspectives and aspirations of SKC students across all timelines, past, present, and future students at SKC. Unfortunately, his contributions often go unrecognized. Many invested community members believe that recent decisions affecting the photography program undermine its true potential and the overall mission of SKC.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Tracy Littlewolf.
Thank you so much for coming in, Tracy. And I was also very upset and disturbed to hear the news about SKC letting go David Spear. So thank you for advocating for him. And, you know, I just want to say that I have some really serious concerns about whether or not the policies about firing people are being followed at SKC.
No.
Having been a former supervisor in several different positions with CSKT, there's a very clear process outlined for terminating someone, and you have to follow all the steps exactly. And I used to be on the board at SKC, and I also used to teach over there, and I know they have the same thing. If you let someone go, there's a write-up, there's a corrective interview, there's a process that has to be followed every time somebody is let go. And I have serious concerns about that process not being followed at SKC.
I do as well. I did my research and according to the charter, there was no due process. The policy, there's no due process in his termination. So that is why I'm here today. I believe raising this matter to a higher authority will allow my perspective to be effectively acknowledged. All I have.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Jennifer.
You know, it takes a lot of courage to publicly advocate for what you believe in. And I think one of the reasons we are in the situation we are with our whole country is because enough people didn't do that. So it takes a lot of courage to stand up for what you believe in and advocate for what you think is right. Those are the traits of a real leader. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for advocating and coming to Tribal Council. Thank you.
And Tracy, we will be talking to the board this afternoon. That's one of the issues that I plan on raising. So thank you for coming in. Add one for open.
Thank you. So today is Thursday. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, I attended an American Indian Health Leaders meeting in Bozeman and a Red Shield 8 meeting in Bozeman. And I just wanted to provide a couple updates for that. And also the American Indian Health Leaders is reimbursing CSKT for all my travel expenses. Wanted to say that too. And I'm on the board of directors for Red Shield 8. And Red Shield 8 is creating a regional Native American treatment facility in Montana that will be in Great Falls. So I just wanted to give a few updates about the meeting. Stephanie Ironshooter was there, and she's the American Indian Health Director at DPHHS in Montana. And she said after the legislative session is over, that she and Charlie Brereton, who is the director of DPHHS, will visit each reservation in Montana. So since he has held that position, he has not visited any tribe. So this will be really good for us to talk to the director of DPHHS. One thing that I wanted to say that I thought was interesting is that the Helena Indian Alliance owns commercial real estate in Helena, and I think they rent out 6 storefronts, and they use the proceeds from their commercial real estate venture to fund themselves. And they also formed a property management LLC, and I just think it would be really great for CSKT to have a property management division, and for us to be more strategic about how we handle real estate. And it's also a way that we could use to create affordable workforce housing for our workforce at CSKT and our membership. And is building workforce housing in Great Falls for their workers. And Red Shield 8 would like to attend the April quarterly to update the membership on the progress of the regional treatment facility. So they would like space on our quarterly agenda in April to update us and the membership.
It's getting built. That'd be interesting to know.
I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, but I just think that with housing being so scarce and so unaffordable on the Flathead Reservation, we need to create more affordable housing for our membership. And I also think we need to have property management division, CSKT, to facilitate that.
Daniel, go ahead.
So Jennifer, I think we've been having some ongoing conversations as far as reorganization, and when we're looking at the org chart, I think that's something Jordan's presented. And if I'm correct, it's Monday when we have the retreat again, where we'll have that conversation about developing that LLC here for our tribe. So I think we're already in the works of creating
I've
that.
been pushing for that since I've been on tribal council, but I wanted it to be on record. And I also wanted to mention that the Helena Indian Alliance is, they created an LLC and they own commercial real estate to fund themselves. And I think we have to be more, we have to think more strategically about how we fund ourselves, especially with this current administration, with grant money being more unreliable. And also I will not be here on Monday.
Yeah, just open
Okay.
session. Recently attended the Western Native Voice board meeting. I think it's been a few weeks ago, I think. And of course they paid for my travel. Pat Smith, some of you may know, he retired from the board and retired from the chairmanship of Western Native Voice. We made him a emeritus member of the board. Montana Wilson from Fort Peck is now the chairman of the board. And also Western Native Voice has opened an office, will be opening an office in DC. And we will have our own lobbyists there in DC to advocate on behalf of Western Native Voice issues. So we're excited about that. We do have an active lobbying effort in Helena, and we're absolutely glad about that as well. One of the things that Western Native Voice has done, similar to what Councilmember Finley has talked about, is that we bought our own building in Billings, and half of it is leased out to some insurance company. And so that insurance company is paying the mortgage on that building. We should have it paid off pretty quickly, it's a pretty awesome building. When I first got on the board, they were renting an old church in Billings that had a broken down elevator, and it was a terrible building, very embarrassing place for them to have their headquarters at. But we're doing really well. we have a vacancy now with Pat Smith stepping off the board. We've invited Jennifer Perez from Fort Belknap. She will be joining the board. We have to set up a special meeting for that. And that's a report on that issue. The other one is, for about a year now, I've been working on trying to get a lease of the Mission Mountain Dental Office in St. Ignatius. I've asked Patricia Hibbler numerous times to assist me on this issue and have not had any help whatsoever. And so, you know, probably not today, but I'm seriously going to make a motion to get that moving, because I've asked Joe Berglow about it and he's unsure of how to get it moving. And so I want to talk with Mark and ask him what can they help with getting that done. The tour program has the money for the lease, and it's a lease with the option to buy. So it's not just we're not just going to be stuck in a lease and renting it forever, but it's an opportunity for we want to get NAR's, satellite office down in St. Ignatius as well. So anyway, and then on the others, I've been battling influenza A for the last 2.5 weeks. Doctor said I wasn't contagious today, so that's why I'm here. And sorry for my voice. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
I've talked to her a number of times. Kathy Ross has talked to her a number of times, and it's a little bit irritating. You know, we can see this building in Polson go really fast. Got it, bought it, and bam, we own the motel up there. And then it just seems like, it's one of those areas where you try to do the right thing through the process and you just get stonewalled for whatever reason. Anyway.
Thanks, James. Go ahead, Barton.
And then I got probably something for executive whenever we go in.
Okay.
Traveled to DC last week. Carol and Mr. Thompson and there, Melissa Schlichting and Ryan Rushi, and they had a different hearing. Visited our congressional delegation. Got to with them because they ran out. So I told Brian Zinke that Elon must have taken their coffee too. And Helena and testified in support of Senate Bill 393. That's our new 280 bill that Greg Hertz is bringing, and met with the Lieutenant Governor afterwards. And just kind of wanted an update. Then we went to the Metcalf Mansfield Democratic event, and that was good. One thing that I think was really lacking is they're not talking a lot about the midterm elections, which are basically upon us in this political cycle now. And I think that we should be proactive in supporting as many candidates as we can. Could maybe flip the House and the Senate. And that's something that I think was, to say the least. People try to be really positive, but Jacinda Morjo gave a welcome and she did a great job. And that was probably the highlight of my evening. Oh, she called the place down at where the rivers converge the right name. I think there's a bust in the Capitol that we should try to get taken out of there.
In the front yard. On. For a while, at Edgerton on the back of a horse, got a sword going. Governor Long. This morning, we actually signed a contract for Mary Rose's program with Newfields company, and they are getting assigned, and I just need to get the okay to carry forward with the modification to have that assigned. Go ahead.
I thought Mary Rose went to Tribal Health, or did she go back to?
There's 2 Mary Roses.
Oh, is it? Oh, I stand corrected. Yeah.
There is a Mary Rose that went to Tribal Health. Yeah. Yeah. The other company here. Contract over there. And so Newfields is being acquired by Environmental Resource Management. And so
Mary Rose, I thought you went to Tribal Health, or is that the other Mary Rose?
would welcome a motion for making this motion by Danielle to modify the contract, to allow the assignment, basically. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? I can sign your paper now, Mary Rose. Good morning.
And I am here requesting permission to apply for CTASK Purpose Area 9 grant. I currently am funded for Purpose Area 8, but it is in the next iteration of the grant, they want to include the courts, and that's not what my program does. But Program 9 fits, or Purpose Area 9 does fit us. So I've reached out to Tish Kalawat and told her that I would support her in writing a grant for Purpose Area 8. And we're meeting later today, and then I'd like permission to apply for Purpose Area 9 for Tribal Ed.
So you got 2 requests.
Well, I'm not gonna do it for her. I'm gonna kind of make her go through the process, and that's how I teach. But we're meeting this afternoon, so I can talk it through her, and we're meeting with our TA for Purpose Area 8.
Purpose Area 8 right now.
I need Purpose Area 9.
9 right now, okay. Approve applying for purpose for 9. Let's get the CTAS grant in place.
Okay.
All in favor? We're unanimous.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Morning.
Yeah.
I'm just signing your paper.
Okay. I too have a twofold request. The first one is I put the cart before the horse and I need to get approval or permission to enter into a contract with Montana DEQ. I did take it to legal and I ended up with the wrong signature on the DocuSign. So a new DocuSign will be coming. It was project work for Rebay Creek project and we got the work done. We got our deliverables done, got the check from DEQ. I just need to get approval and the DocuSign signed correctly and go from there. Get that one closed out. And the next one, you want to do one at a time or just we go for it?
Yeah, we need to do one at a time. Okay. Motion by James, get the new DEQ contract signed.
Montana DEQ contract.
Montana. Second by Martin. All in favor? So that'll be coming. Email?
Yeah. It'll be coming to contracts and grants and yourself.
Okay.
And then the second request is there's another Montana DEQ opportunity out there. So I'd like permission to apply for that funding opportunity. It's up to $300,000 for phase 2 of Rebay Creek project. We're needing about $325,000. So I'm going to continue to look for grants or see if I can slide it into my Brownsfield bill funding for next fiscal year to get phase 2 completed on Rebay Creek. So I'm looking for permission to apply for that grant this time.
Get the horse pulling the cart. Motion by Jimmy. Second by James. All in favor? We're unanimous. Thank you, Mary Rose.
Lamb Lumps, have a good day, everybody.
I called Lynn Ducharme and Brian Upton, but they weren't expecting us to be early, so they said they can get here as fast as they can.
We will take a break.
Specia, Mr. Chair and members of council, we're going to let our newest board member, Carissa Trahan, take the lead this afternoon and give the report to council from the Salish Kootenai College. Go ahead. No, I wouldn't do that to you. No, thank you for this opportunity to come in and present a report as required by the charter from Salish Kootenai College Board of Directors to Tribal Council for CSKT. Before we get into the report, I just wanted to mention or provide a brief update on where we are with our presidential search. As you know, President Boham resigned in June of last year. And since then, we've been operating under interim Dr. Michael Munson. And then recently, I don't know how long has it been, Stacy? 7 weeks already under the leadership of Dr. Stacy Sherwin. The board continues to engage in a search for our next president for Salish Kootenai College. We currently have 4 applicants in the pool. Of those 4, 1 is a tribal member, 1 a tribal member from another tribe, 1 a descendant from here, and another a non-Indian indigenous lady, as I understand. So we're going to have some discussion later this month at our regularly scheduled board meeting on that. I think it's better to get it right than to move quickly, and I think that we've been very diligent as a board to try to get it right. Try to get the understanding that that's a very important position and a very important leadership role that we're looking for.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. One question, Jim. What about the vice president position? What's going on there?
That was advertised. I believe that there is 2 applicants in that pool, and
that duty is designated or delegated to the president. And our acting president, I think, is gonna wait until the president is seated to fill that position. Those functions are currently being shared by existing staff. And we feel that, I think, we feel that those functions of those positions are adequately being filled and taken care of. Across the campus, as you may know, that are critical and vacant. A position now with current federal uncertainty or federal funding uncertainty that I think we're being cautious in filling some of those positions as well. You had to cut any staff because of the? Not at this time. Funding or grant freezing. Yeah.
You're forwarding that spreadsheet of the grants that you do have that could be questionable, so appreciate that.
You know, this uncertainty with federal funding and grant funding has been an uneasy time over the last few weeks. And I think that initially we heard that a lot of those federal fundings and grants were frozen, right? And there was a rally, but there was an initial rally to get some of those grants and federal funding unfrozen and available. And I think that report showed that we have one grant that continues to be frozen.
Sure. It reminds me of that, the great, tremendous gift that Mrs. Amazon gave both Sailors Community College and Blackfeet College.
That's currently still in investment. Up until the last couple of days was doing very well. And you know, we're looking at that as well, trying to keep a tab on it. I think our last meeting we requested to have a meeting scheduled with our investment group to come up with some kind of a contingency if things get too crazy, right? Down, it continues to work for the college. And I think, I think that SKC is in a very fortunate position where we do have a couple of options, right? A couple of those investment accounts that we could probably fall down if things tank, right? If federal funding sources go away, I think, we're not going to be in a position where we have to shut the doors right away. The report includes the current address and mission statements for Salish Kootenai College, the current directory of our current board of directors. And we do appreciate you filling our last seat. That's going to make a huge difference, and look forward to working with Carissa on some of the issues and challenges that we're facing over the next year for sure. Includes the summary of the current or anticipated judicial and administrative litigation, a discussion on audits and accreditation, of academic programming, including vocational and distance programs, changes in our bylaws and conflict of interest policies, an enrollment report for the fall term of 2024, the Salish Kootenai College budget form for 24-25, and we can have a little more detailed conversation about that as we get to it. And a copy of our human resources report, which includes the number of grievances filed in the fall term. And again, this list is consistent with what those issues listed
in the charter. Moving to, I think it's page 2 in your report. As you can see, the list of our board of directors, a relatively new group of board members, and we continue to provide board training as we can. We recently had a board training provided by the accreditation, a combination of our accrediting institution and Dr. David Yardlot. I talked about, board roles and responsibilities and some discussion about our budget. So I thought that was good and helpful. The summary of the current or anticipated judicial or administrative litigation. We do have one currently active lawsuit. And I don't want to get too much into that, but it's a non-member adjunct former staff person that has filed that wrongful termination with the college, and that's currently in process. Just an update on the audit and accreditation. For fiscal year 2024, the audit was completed in March of 2024. The report will be returned to the college later this month in 2025. May have told you or discussed this last time, but there's like a 7-year cycle about reviews, mid-cycle reviews, and a final report. You want to elaborate a little bit on that, or can you?
So it is a 7-year cycle, as Chair Durglo said. We had our mid-cycle. We will be having our year 6 in spring 2027, followed the next year by our big accreditation review. We had no outstanding recommendations in the from the mid-cycle. We typically do well with accreditation. The commission has done well training accreditors to understand tribal colleges when they come to visit us. So that's been helpful. I think that's it.
Okay, any other questions? Move on to the next page, might be page 5 in the report. So just wanted to mention that changes in academic programming for 25-26 year included the addition of the Masters of Science in Life Sciences, a revision of the Building Trades Workforce Certification, and a 1-year moratorium on the computer programming certificate completion. And I think it's important to note that the new Tech Hub grant that SKC secured is highly geared towards workforce development and building trades in particular. So that's a large grant, and I think that that was one that we were pretty fearful about being impacted by the recent freezes. So SKC continues to move forward with that grant, but very cautiously. And I think that another grant that we've included in today's discussion for your consideration is that NACTEP grant. It's in the packet as well. And that also is geared towards workforce development and building trades programming. Along to the changes in bylaws or conflict of interest policies. I think because of the transition and the lack of any kind of board retreat over this last year, the board has not spent time reviewing or updating the bylaws. We keep pushing back our board retreat either until we get a new president or until our board is full. And I think over the next month, we would need to schedule some time specifically to review and update the bylaws and conflict of interest policy consistent with what the charter is. So that work is in front of us as well. the Human Resources Department for February 2025 lists folks, or the advertised date, the start date, tribal affiliation. The next page includes a number of new hires and the separation of employment. This is for the current academic year, 24,
We do have a
24,
question.
25.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On your table for separation of employment, college was striving to do exit interviews on everybody, but I don't see that many here that were done. And then was there an exit interview with Dr. Munson?
I don't know if there was or not.
Dr. Munson is still employed as a part-time instructor at the college, so she hasn't had an exit interview yet. She's teaching a master's in education program. So she's not done, which is nice. We do offer all employees an exit interview. They can, of course, some of them do a written exit interview. Some of them they're asked if they want to do an in-person. And that it's kind of in the wrong place, but under the page 10, under the separation of employees table, it says all separating employees were offered an exit interview as per the requirement.
Yeah, that was my understanding, is they're all offered it. Not all take that opportunity. Is a listing of our current budget for 24-25. And again, there's a lot of uncertainty. The big number that comes from our federal Department of Bureau of Indian Education is the TCA revenue. Top left column, $3.9 million. So that's the number that really is depending on student count and based on a formula through the Bureau of Indian Education. So depending on what happens with the Department of Education and the Bureau of Indian Education, we're really concerned about that. Plus the number of grants, federal grants that SKC has been awarded.
Go ahead, Martin.
Back to your separation table.
Sure.
Is it involuntary resigned? Is that just a nice way of saying you fired them, or is there a distinction between being
terminated?
And
I guess that would be being terminated or leaving service.
So if someone is terminated, I think they're eligible for unemployment bonuses, or not bonuses, but benefits. If they resign, I believe they're not. So I think that distinction kind of, I don't know if it's just on here, you're not putting it, but I would hope that distinction is made if unemployment calls and checks.
Follow up with that. Continues to monitor the budget for sure. And not only the budget, but the impacts of Department of Education and the Bureau or the Bureau of Indian Education and how those impact tribal colleges in general and us in particular. I think that there's probably ongoing conversations about what may or may happen, you know, over almost daily, I would think, right? The tribal college presidents are meeting later this week in Rapid City as part of their semi-annual meeting, and I'm sure that we'll have some discussions about it then as well.
We are in the process of doing contingency planning, just in case there was budget cuts. We're just doing some thought about how we could become more efficient and effective in our operations without, hopefully without trying to terminate any positions. It would depend on the extent of the budget cuts, of course. We have been told there's a potential in 2026-27 budget, federal budget, of significant budget cuts to tribal entities across the board, including tribal colleges. So we appreciate any assistance that the tribes can offer with advocating on our behalf.
Understand and are considering the impacts to the availability of student loans. You know, many of our tribal students require Pell or other guaranteed student loans, and the availability of that, or if that goes away, our tribal student enrollment is going to be greatly affected. So that's something else that we've been kind of very, very concerned about what's going to happen with these.
Would be helpful is if you had a fact sheet that you could disseminate. So like when we call she, he, and leave a message or an email, and encourage all of your students to do that. And that's something that can be published in the Charcusta, and we can really promote that. What kind of messaging specifically should be given to our congressional team? And, you know, even for, you know, I'm just thinking about, you know, we all have different opportunities and different times where we run into federal officials. And so for me, it helps to have a fact sheet about, you know, kind of just in my back pocket. So I was just at an American Indian Health Leaders meeting, and I asked them for the same thing, specifically regarding Medicaid expansion. Because that passed in Montana, but it's the federal level that they want to cut Medicaid. So, you know, there's various issues that I always want to have in my back pocket that I can pull up facts in case I run into somebody like the Secretary of the Interior or someone like that. And then I can have these facts kind of like front and center. So it would help me. Fact sheet from you, from SKC specifically, that I can just kind of review and keep with me. And whenever I have the opportunity, then I can, you know, advocate for tribal funding more like specifically. I think that would be helpful.
Heck, and others have been actively lobbying in DC, but certainly something provided to our leadership that they could, you know, support that message as well, for sure.
Yeah, just because it, you know, sometimes those encounters are not always planned, and we have the opportunity to advocate for the tribe, for CSKT in various capacities. Some of those things are planned, but sometimes they're not, and it's just helpful to have that kind of a document.
Moving right along, the fall enrollment report indicates a trend of increasing employment. The last fall census was 694. And just to note there that we do have some additional housing in construction and hope to have that complete by next fall for additional housing opportunities and increases in our enrollment opportunities. And again, it's all contingent about what's going to happen with this current administration on a national level. We may have a whole bunch of new houses with no students to fill them.
So your funding is based on 2 years prior. What number of students is your current funding based on?
2 years ago, and I'm not sure of the number, 2 years ago, but I mean, you could see it, right? I mean, it's right there. It's the 218 probably, the prior.
This is just fall quarter, so it would be the full year's ISC, and I don't have that memorized either.
Was it more or less?
It was less,
Okay.
because it was right after COVID, and we had a decreased student population during COVID.
Good. And I know that there's a lot more work to do there. And hopefully we can continue to maintain that trend line for increasing SKC enrollment opportunities. Like to offer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The buildings that are under construction, doing much with them, and they haven't for a few months. And at least for safety, maybe board them up so you can't just walk right into them. And
About the new dorms, or the new housing that's up by housing?
right behind the pond, just to the east of the pond.
I think that is closed in now.
It is now.
I think so.
It's been since the last time it snowed that I've been back there, so.
I'll check on that, but I believe it is closed in now. I think the doors are in.
I guess kind of follow up. What's the holdup on getting those completed?
Materials acquisition, materials are slow. The new housing, it's been slow to get materials in.
Included in the packet, in the appendix, is the letter from accreditation. And what's the other one? I don't have. You gotta speak to that?
I'm sure you saw something in the paper, but we were very honored to be one of the 6 colleges in the country that were honored with a post-secondary success award by the previous Department of Education. We were recognized for our work in working with underserved students, and in having those students, as they graduate, have a higher percentage of the students enter gainful employment. So we were quite honored by that, and we received a lot of kudos from across the country with that award.
Included is I think is the strategic plan, copy of the strategic plan as well. I think, just a point of discussion with our strategic plan. The board recently approved the strategic plan with a lot of internal discussion about how we can better incorporate our cultures in our campus community, to be more inviting and to provide more of that cultural space on SKC campus. And others within the board, I'd encourage you to jump in as well.
Yeah, I think that, and also in line with that would be, kind of who you're hiring as well, I mean, it would be pretty important to have CSKT folks. This, I've made the comment with the rest that, you could go through and get a certificate or an associate's or a bachelor's and not know anything about CSKT when you finish. And everybody who comes here needs to know about its certificate or whatever at every stage of it. So that's kind of the direction that
I like that because I don't think there's a class over there that's CSKT history, right? There's Native American history. That's pretty generic. But you're right, it should be CSKT history if you go there. So when I got my bachelor's degree in New Mexico, and I had to take New Mexico state history. I had to learn about the state that I lived in. So, yeah, makes sense.
And with any of the other tribal colleges, I mean, you can't go to Blackfeet Community College without coming out there knowing about Blackfeet history and some of their language. I mean, those would be basic requirements. And same with, over in Lame Deer and Crow and all the other tribal colleges. So we should be leading in that area. Is my belief.
Carol, go ahead.
Well, I know something's being taught there because I was at Starbucks the other day and the girl says, I know you from somewhere. I know you from somewhere. It was Julie Kajun's curriculum. She watched it and she goes, you're a celebrity. And I said, no, I'm not. I was just kind of blown away that somebody had actually seen that video. And that's I think the tribal government stuff that she has done is what this girl had seen. Anyway, kind of surprised me.
I think we all agree that we need to do more. And I think that's the goal. The vision, the goal is to provide a very culturally appropriate environment at Salish Community College.
Actual hiring statistics, the number of tribal members hired is the minority of the folks hired.
Tribal preference, and so tribal members have preference in hiring. And we often reduce qualifications to allow tribal members to apply. But we've had a number of positions open for which there have been no tribal member applicants. Are more carefully looking at job descriptions to make sure that we're not ruling people out. Tribal hiring preference, and that is a priority.
And after what Vernon was talking about.
I have a hard time believing that, Stacy, because I know so many tribal members in the community who applied and lesser qualified non-Indians got hired over members and lower qualified non-members got hired. That does not look good. And I can give you some examples. And some of them have sued the college. So I just have to disagree. I think the college needs to do a lot better at hiring CSKT members and making it a welcoming place for Indians.
I want to congratulate you on the award and recognition by the secretary. It was great when he was here. I thought it was wonderful he came to the college and got to meet him, and I think that means a lot. I was thinking about your strategic plan and who the new Department of Education or wherever the secretary is. Are you going to put in a wrestling pit, you know, in the gym, you know, maybe get some professional wrestling training. You know, I don't know. Sorry, I just had to say that. Yeah,
We're gonna show Nacho Libre for free.
yeah, there you go. Blend the Jesuits and that in together. Okay.
Interesting journey over the next couple of years, right? I think that the movement is moving most of that funding appropriation to the states. And it's going to be a interesting discussion with getting the tribal share out of the state legislature.
We're a land grant institution, right? So that put us in better standing.
They just removed the land grant status from the HBCUs, so we're watching to see if they do the same thing from the 1984 tribal colleges. It is keeping a lot of us awake at night trying to figure out how we're going to respond to these things and how we can maintain our status with the large number of grants we require and keep our doors open and continue to meet our mission.
I think
scary.
I mean, what a contrast from the last secretary to this one. He was a great role model for so many people. So I always think, what can we do? What's happening? And so there's a lot of discussion about litigating on our sovereignty or the treaty and the treaty obligations for education. It's spelled out in there very clearly that there's education free to our tribal members. It's in the treaty and it doesn't have a term to it or anything. So I always wonder about, you know, when we get to some of these things that are promised in the treaty that are highest law of the land, are we going to litigate? Are we going to litigate the Trump administration over these things? And, you know, I guess as it plays out and if Congress keeps on, I don't know what Congress is, they don't do anything. They might as well just be Trump everything. Are we going to start these litigations? And I don't know. I don't know if that's something that AHEC is considering or not. We have a unique treaty. All treaties aren't the same. Some don't have education mentioned in them like ours does. So I don't know if the standing's the same across the country, but definitely it's a violation of the treaty. If there was all educational funding cut for our schools, then that's a violation of our treaty.
You say, you know, it looks gloom and doom, but you look at Salish Kootenai College and a lot of tribal colleges across the nation provide things to, you know, not just Native Americans, but others. And I think, you know, we've learned to fight our battles in a way that we can win. We never thought we would win against Medicaid expansion. And you can just go down the line of all the things that we have actually done by educating and by telling our story and telling our people's story. So it looks bad, but we never give up. Once we give up, then we do lose, but we just keep fighting the battle. And I don't think the college is going anywhere. I think it's going to be an uphill battle, of course, but it always is for us. And we don't look at it as an uphill battle. We just strikes and do what we need to do as tribal people. And so I just never give up, but I'm just optimistic about the whole thing. I have to be, because otherwise I'm just down in the dumps. I don't even watch the news anymore. I was telling Jermaine yesterday and the elders that, yeah, I just quit watching because it makes me go into a real funk. So I just learned to, you know, watch things that I need to watch and not bring myself down about it.
Testimony given by the new executive director for AHEC and many of the tribal folks talking to Appropriations Committee. And I don't know if they're threatening litigation at this point, but urging Congress to fully fund just based on the fact that many of our programs are treaty obligations. So it's good. I mean, it's enlightening to hear AHEC or other tribal institutions providing that testimony, reminding our congressionals that these are treaty obligations.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I mean, it's been mentioned here many, many times, edification of this new Republican Party and administration. And so they know about what this college means, you know, the jobs, the economy that it supports, and the trust obligation, the treaty obligation, just all those things. It's like right now, it should be just shouted out and be out there as much as possible, whether it's to Congressman Zinke or Troy, whatever his name is, or Downey, yeah, new guys, you know, the Mr. Sheehy, you know, those kind of education efforts just really need to go. And so meeting and just like Jennifer said, and these folks here are great ambassadors here, these colleagues of mine, and they're out there all the time, and they're running into these folks. They're at their congressional offices and their Senate offices. And so having that fact sheet or database that the college can provide us, you know, what does this mean? You know, what does it mean for this individual student, this single mom with 3 kids trying to go to school, you know, the importance of it all, you know, how it's harming people, having real life examples in our pockets to just be able to express that, to know how much it means. Those one-on-ones or even, you know, editorials or, you know, letters to the congressmen and the senators are absolutely critical at this point in time, because that's what it is. It's education before litigation. And just because common sense will prevail eventually. You know, maybe not right now because, you know, a moron is a president. And so it's hard to teach, you know, hard to fix stupid. And, you know, I'm not scared of Trump or anything like that, but that's what I think he is. And a narcissist, whatever. You know, I can't, there's not one good trait about our current president that I could say. Personal trait. He's a greedy, make America greedy again. That's all he's about. It's not great again, it's greedy again. And so I think the more we can convince Congress to separate themselves, turn a different direction, we might be able to turn this around and be optimistic like Carol is. You know, it really is some pain. It's like weathering the storm, and there'll be an about face, and you know, maybe 2 years from now, there'll be a ton of Democrats in the House of Representatives. You know, 4 years from now, there'll be a Democratic president. But the problem is, when you're building a house, it takes a long time to build it. It may take you a whole year to build your house. But you can tear that house down in one day. And that's what they're doing right now. They're tearing down programs and they're removing staff. And it's just going to take us a long time to recover. So even with an about face, the damage that's been done just to date is incredible. The amount of people that are leaving that we support on for grant funding, whatever it might be, that have taken the voluntary retirement, we still don't know the effects of that. Because just like some agencies have right here, the irrigation project, you know, 60% of their workforce is taking the early out retirement. Well, when you lose 60% of your workforce in a program like that, you become non-effective. You can't perform. You can't provide anything. And then they handicap them where you can't hire anybody back. If you do, you got to fire 4 more. Well, that means that you just got to get by with what you got. And so how do you run an operation like that with 40% of your workforce that you had before? You know how you do it? You don't. So there's a lot of pain and suffering that's going to be coming. We got to track all that, document it as we go through this spring and summer, and try to change things. Try to influence Congress before the end of this fiscal year to make sure that they don't really become fully entrenched in Project 2025. So anyway, sorry. Get off my preacher thing. I think I've been sitting by James too long. No.
The wonderful thing was they were already down about 18% anyway. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry for my voice. I've been one of the people that got one of the bugs lately, so apologize for my voice. One of the things that I was wondering about, 2 things actually. One is we've seen in the news with the current administration, the attack on DEI, diversity and equity inclusion. How has that impacted the college? And then the other is a number of years ago, I remember reading the College of Menominee Nation did an economic impact study on what that college meant to that economy. And I tried to get that going here with the U of M, but the director changed and it got slowed down. But has the college had any chance to really study what the economic impact of SKC has been on the regional economy and our reservation economy? And then the other one was the DEI issues. I noticed the U of M went through that process and cut a bunch of money out of there. So those are my couple questions, and I let my cousin Tom here do all the talking. So
I can remember the questions. We have not made any changes as a result of the DEIA. Now they've added accessibility, tribal college status. We didn't do that. We don't have a lot of, one could look at tribal colleges as being all about DEI equity. But there's that separate sovereign status so we did not go through and, for example, eliminate our disabilities office, which the university had to do, which is kind of crazy. So we haven't made any response. One thing we are doing is when we write new grants, trying to walk around the equity language and phrase it differently. In terms of the economic impact study, thank you for bringing that up. I actually have on my desk the draft of a study that was just completed. It's still a draft, and we're trying to make sure that it represents the data accurately, and then we should have a complete copy within about 6 weeks. It did demonstrate that for every dollar invested in SKC, there was a $5 and something like $5.68 return on that investment in terms of both business, social, and I can't remember the three things. Investment was done by an external company that was provided through AHEC, and I think there's both a quick executive summary as well as a very long report, and we'll forward that as soon as we have the final copy.
Feel free to put some poetic license to that and exaggerate like Trump does. There's no truth anymore. So it's not $5, it's $500.
Trillion, 5 trillion, more than anybody's ever seen.
Go ahead, Martin.
We really have a lack of people writing, our grant writers. And do you guys offer any kind of through the business program, but grant writing classes or any kind of internships, or maybe have a class just to write grants for the tribe for free? That'd be pretty good. But
we have a 1 year and a 2-year program in grant writing and management that includes grant writing classes. We have several sets of grant writing classes, and one of the components of the NACTEP proposal that we're writing in is both project management, which we know that we've heard that the tribe needs desperately more project managers, as well as grant management. So that's included in this grant that we're trying to submit tomorrow. So we're aware of that. We have trying to train our own people. As some of us get older, like me, and leave, then we're trying to train the next generation of grant writers as well over at the college. If there's particular people that you would want to put in contact with us for, like, maybe arranging a sequence of trainings that we have over here, I'm sure we'd be willing to talk about that.
All businesses, there's a lot of grant, well, I guess there have been in the past a lot of grant opportunities. And so I know that's something that we offer a little bit, but if you can train people to do it, that'd be, and then them to teach others, that'd be even better. So.
Question. I'm wondering, Stacy, what you're doing to actually recruit CSKT students. I see that there are actually more non-members students than there are CSKT students at the college. He is reported as 27% and non-members reported as 29%.
CSKT 27%, other Montana tribes 21, other tribes not Montana 17. But so I can name some of the activities that are going on to recruit local students. In particular, we've been focused on the local high schools. I just had a nice conversation with Michelle Mitchell yesterday about trying to work together better to accomplish that. But right now we have what's called a Native Youth Community Partnership Grant through the Department of Education. And we have counselors in the schools that SKC provides working with CSKT members, youth, to try and get them to think about their options when they graduate from high school. For some of them, that's college. For some of them, that might be a trade or the military even. So they're working with them so they all have a plan when they get done with high school. We have our dual enrollment early college coordinator doing more and more outreach with high schools to encourage dual enrollment. And that again is a part of this next NACTEP grant we're submitting tomorrow, is more dual enrollment in trades, for example. Ronan is interested in us having building trades classes down there for their high school students who may not be interested in college, but may be interested in that as a career. We have the Upward Bound program that recruits a lot of tribal students in the summer. They take dual enrollment classes and visit colleges. It didn't give me a hint on that one ahead of time, so I made a list. Our recruiter does spend a fair amount of time. We still have our scholarship, which is announced for all CSKT member students who choose to enroll. They get a free year of college at SKC, and then a second year if their grades are maintained. Now, but we know I think trying to, I guess the other thing we're doing with this new grant is we're working with DHRD and office to run things like CDL training and things that we know that the tribes want. We perceive a need to do a better job in the high schools, both with recruitment and in helping students figure out their next steps, whether or not that's college. We know it's not college for everyone, but they, again, hopefully have some sort of thing they're doing when they get done, rather than, as Michelle said yesterday, maybe sitting on the couch and playing computer games. So we're trying to, and we'll be working further with Michelle to try and develop those kinds of transition programs for students.
I really would.
Ongoing, long-standing issue to try to provide that opportunity for our current tribal employment workforce. When I was in forestry, there's a whole bunch of techs, right, that you'd encourage them to take classes at SKC but it's twisting arms and, pushing people to take that step and jump back into the college environment. I think it's an ongoing issue for workforce development for our own employees and providing those opportunities to our high school students as well.
Well, I'm just thinking about Vernon's earlier remark that Blackfoot Community College, if you had their student count, what would the proportion of Blackfoot students be to their entire population? And, we're actually a minority in terms of the tribal people in the school, but there are less CSKT students than non-member students. Love to see better numbers.
I think that, there's so much racism in our local schools. Go to SKC, they expect it to be different. They expect Indian teachers and they expect a different environment. And that's really why having Native faculty really matters. It's probably the most important recruitment tool. when people can walk in the doors and they know they're going to be treated differently than they got treated at Ronan High School or Arley High School or some of these other places where they probably weren't treated very well. They expect it to be different. They expect it to look different in every possible way and to be a tribal place and to have tribal teachers, because they're probably not going to have that in the public schools. So, I mean, it's just, and, you know, and I know that when I was on the board, actually Tom's sister, Tracy McDonald, one quarter, she came into one of our board meetings and she said, we lost 5 students this week because there's no Native faculty here, not enough. So some tribal students actually came from other tribal colleges and they said, this isn't what we want, this isn't what we came here for. If we wanted something that looked like this, we would have gone to the U of M or someplace else, and that's what they did. They left. They expected this to be a visibly tribal college, and that I think that accounts for students not wanting to go there. Having Native faculty is essential.
We can look at and try to address the immediate threats or the, you know, the short-term ones that we see on the horizon, like the current administration. But I think, you know, as a board and as a tribe, we need to, you know, think about it way beyond that, you know, and say, this is our institution, and we decide what it is that's important to be good Smaknik people, and that's what we should be. That should be the major focus of what we're doing here. You know, in addition to fitting into today's world, yes, but the foundation of that is what needs to be there. And I think historically we've kind of let that slide and kind of pursued the, you know, pursued the Western way of thinking more so, and that there just needs to be, you know, some look at the balance and stuff. And that's, I mean, that's the focus that I intend to bring as we go forward with our strategic plan, et cetera. And so, you know, because with that award that the college received in a couple of ways, in a Western way of looking at it, gee, that's a great pat on the back. But the award itself was for our DEI accomplishments, but also puts a target on our back, you know? And so we have to, you know, just think, well, that stuff, you know, we need to look at what it is in our culture, in our society that is important, and that's what we need to be pushing. You know, that's what we need to be educating on. That's what we need to be, you know, bringing our young people up in. You know, and so I think focusing more on that rather than on, you know, student count is so much as so the overall student count isn't as important as, you know, what you guys were just talking about. The CSKT student count is what we should be, because if we were really focused on what it is to be a good Skelich or a Smaknik person, they would be there, majority. So anyway, just kind of, you know, if we worry about, I mean, and I don't think treaty is really a strong argument with the administration. I think you got to look more at what does it mean economically. I see that the contributions economically, what it means to this area, is a stronger argument than it's a treaty obligation, because we're talking to somebody who will just thumb his nose at NATO, you know, with treaties with all the other foreign nations, and just say, heck with that, you know, I'm going to side this, I'm going to go this other way. So treaties aren't as meaningful, and I would just hope that we would be cautious with, you know, the things. I mean, timing is going to be everything, and exactly what we've put forward here in our arguments is going to really be a critical thing. But I think if we, as a college, we concentrate more on on us here and preparing our people for tomorrow's world, whatever it might turn into. That's the winning thing. Just my own thought.
Tom and Jennifer?
Thank you. That's why when we say it's not $5, it's $500. Is that economic?
Yeah, there you go.
It's always about the money. It's always about the money.
Brings $500 for every dollar. That's
Yeah.
right.
I want to reflect back on what I thought was really interesting, continuing education. During my career, and me getting my bachelor's degree and watching the workplace, like Jim and Jermaine and Vernon, so many of us that worked here for so many years. But that ability for the college to provide that advancement for an existing employee or those that are fresh in the workforce so they can move up. So it's like fire management, I would go through all these S courses. And I had to have these S courses to get my next level, get my next promotion. So that continuing education in the workforce, and this is our tribal membership. This is really our workforce. And so I don't think it can be overstated how critical of a role Salish Kootenai College is for that. And that interplay between every tribal program and the corporations and, the greater private businesses that are owned by our members of our tribe, to be able to have that connection, to have that need assessment, like what do we need to do, but that continuing education. And that brings in, then all of a sudden the enrollment is mostly CSKT, because you're taking your workforce, which there's how many of us? Counting us, I don't know. Yeah, a lot. That's not only the kids coming out of high school, but it's that you're never too old to go back to school. You're never too old to teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, even Vernon can learn something new tomorrow, and
do every day.
So I can't, but Vernon can. It's just so critical to be able to provide that. So I don't know, if that's what I would look at. I think that's always been a critical need to make our workers the best they can be, and to provide that diversification or changing climate, adapting to new trends or new funds or new issues that we have in the landscape. I think that's really critical. I think the college can be a great resource for us. And so I would look forward to that as being a way to pick up enrollment also.
Mr. Chairman,
Jermaine, and then
I hate to do it, but I have to agree with Tom. I think that SKC has really expanded in multiple ways in order to do that. We've offered a number of graduate programs so people can earn a master's degree at Salish Kootenai College. We've moved into workforce and business development. So we've diversified in order to meet some of those changing needs and the capacity to grow and expand education in support of tribes' mission and vision and future direction.
Recently, we brought Rob McDonald back as our communications officer, and that's just been a huge blessing to us, because with all of these day-by-day changes, unexpected curveballs from this administration, we've had to update our workforce on what's going on and how we're going to handle it and what our plan is. So I hope that the college is communicating with students. This is what we know now. This is where we are, because, I'm sure all of you saw that Haskell 30% of their faculty, just like that, like, you're done, you're out. And then they still have to offer classes. They still have students, but with 30% less faculty. So I would imagine, if I was a student right now, I would be worried, like, what's going on here? What's happening? Is this college even going to exist next year? Am I going to be able to get funding? And I know none of us has all the answers, but just communicating with students, letting them know this is what we know so far. And also with faculty and staff, people who have families to support, mortgages to pay. This is what we know now. I hope that you guys are doing regular communication with students, faculty, and staff, letting them know this is what we know now. This is where we are. This is what our plan is. Because otherwise people are going to panic.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think that that's incredibly important, and I know that Stacy has continued to be in good communication with staff and faculty, and we're in the process of drafting a joint letter between the board and the president to send out to talk about how much we appreciate staff and faculty's steadfast work during this time of uncertainty, and how our continued focus on students is incredibly important during this time of uncertainty. And we're working tirelessly to ensure that Salish Kootenai College is as strong and continues to be as strong as we can be. So we're, I think Stacy will talk about her communication, and we're, as I said, we have I think a near final draft to send out from the board and the president.
Sending regular emails to employees, and I've sent several out to students. It's a little harder to send them to students. Just telling students that we're stable, we're not planning any cuts, but I'm sending regular. And then we have our staff meetings. I had an in-person staff meeting. I've been trying hard to communicate. I see my role right now as trying to maintain some sort of stability in the middle of what can appear to be kind of chaotic, and trying to ensure that people don't fear for their jobs as much as possible. Do that. The administrative team is working hard on that, as well as to ensure economic stability for the college. And I think I think I've copied Jim on some of those emails, if not all of them, that go out. I do recognize the importance of trying to make sure that people aren't getting more anxious and keep their focus on the students. And I think we're trying to do that. At the same time, I think it's important, and I appreciate Jermaine and Jim's work to send the employees and the students a letter, because as we've contracted employment a little bit, when people leave, we aren't rehiring in many cases. And so people are picking up other jobs, and we have a number of people now doing 1.5 or two jobs. And we're trying to analyze how effective that is and making sure that that still works. But we think there'll probably be more of that as we move along, just trying to be as efficient as we can and make sure that everybody is working hard to work for our students. We know why we're there.
Our report to the council.
Any other questions?
I think attached to the packet was a request for approval of a resolution submitted through the, I'm going to take the lead on that, NACCAP grant.
The Native American Career and Technical Education Program is a grant that Bob Paraguay wrote the first time about 30 years ago, and we've maintained ever since then. It comes up every 4 or 5 years, and we've asked for a council resolution because one of the main criteria for this report is that it supports the Tribal Economic Development Plan. And this report, our grant, does that in 2 ways: by its outreach to students, which is the SEDS objective number 1, and objective number 2, increasing the number of trades programs we're supporting through this grant this time. So again, we're asking for this resolution because it's an important criteria for the grant.
Approve the resolution. All in favor?
In protest, I have another meeting, but thank you.
Entertain a motion to accept the report. All in favor? Really appreciate the report today. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
You need executive?
Executive.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Bing.
Yeah, say, I was going to try to catch you before you got out of executive there, but say, Mark, did Leonard Gray ever get a hold of you?
Thank you.
Requesting authorization to get a motion to show interest in the 2-acre parcel out on Rocky Butte Road. You know the allotment number. It's to show interest.
Show interest in Dallas Abbott's 2 acres. Second by James. All in favor? how come? Okay. For some reason, mine's covered. Unanimous. Go ahead.
Next item, show interest in a 2.5 acre purchase from Melissa Michelle with negotiations.
Going to talk about getting those parcels together rather than, do we wait to show interest on this? What we're showing interest in before we actually do it.
Okay. Interest in Christian and Jean Matt's allotment interest in 3014.
By Tom.
That is Peter. Christian is Peter.
I got a motion by Tom. Second by Jimmy. All in favor?
Next item up is show interest in allotment 3014A, 3014A for John and Christian Matt, their undivided interest.
The other two parcel, or the other parcel on the river. Motion by Tom. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? Unanimity.
We have a letter of disinterest for Daniel Claremont for his 20 acre parcel.
With disinterest. Second by Martin. All in favor? Yep, unanimous.
Item up is request for letter of disinterest by Jeannie Allard.
All in favor? Or not? Out of the room.
Letter of disinterest for Rainey Dupuy.
In favor? Bing?
Letter of disinterest for Michael Anastasio.
Down it was. Martin?
St. Ignatius.
Motion by Martin. All in favor?
The one where she wants us to pay for the appraisal, can we go back and tell her that is that the only reason we're showing this interest?
She requested a letter of disinterest today.
So she wanted to offer it, so she said that she wanted, either council or housing to buy it preferably, like soon. And then we told her our budget had been allocated for the year, but so then, yeah, then she wanted, she's gonna need an appraisal even if we help her advertise to the membership some more. And so then she would want you guys to pay for that in the home inspection.
I'm good then.
Unanimous.
Item up. Next item up, in creating a development of a tribal shooting range out on Rocky Butte.
Second by Jimmy. All in favor?
Next item up is approval of the new tribal lands organizational chart with the new title for the special projects manager.
Motion by James. All in favor?
We will continue working with potential contract for deed, everything else. That we already,
Discussions with him.
more
yeah.
discussion work with.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure it was okay.
Requesting a motion to approve the rental allocation for the Lake County, half the fair market rental rate rental increases.
To say I was the bad guy on the first one because I misread the form and I really thought the highest rate was the 852. I didn't realize some of those rates were gonna be as high, and I almost think we're still a little high on those 2 bedrooms, but down for now, and if we have to come back to it later, I'm good with that. But at least this is gonna bring it down for their initial markups, and we'll see how much pushback we get, if any, with this bit of a reduction. Sorry.
Well, the problem I have is that we're deviating from the 50%. And I'd like to see the 50%. Somebody needs to have a discount from that we actually charge them the 50% and give them some reasonable discount for whatever their reasoning is. That's what I'd rather see us do, but 50% according to the counties. Go ahead, Martin.
I mean, I get that, but it's a small amount of homes in Missoula County that are making those particular rents a lot higher than what Lake County is. And so using the county that contains the most area makes more sense. And using 50% of that, I don't think really deviates that much.
About how it applies to Sanders County, how it applies in wherever else. I don't know where the rates might be less, more, different. And if there's an evaluation done of where it's at, that's the market rate. So that's where I'm at. And so we got a motion by Tom to accept the proposal from Lance. James for, Martin for, Bing, are you for? And I'm against, so the motion carries. We have 2 against and we have 5 for.
Is permission to advertise spring bid for the agricultural.
Motion by Tom, second by Martin. All in favor?
A change of land use for agriculture lease 2508, 2510, and 2511 from agricultural to residential commercial in the Hot Springs area.
Motion by Tom. Second by Danielle. All in favor?
Sure, Mike.
Hey,
There's always hope.
I'll end up with voters against me, Tom.
Oh, keep them out, go the other way, well, it's wrong.
Next item up, sole source contract for Ace Drilling for the potential CITT off-season water.
Motion by Tom, second by Martin. All in favor? For that, there he is. So we got 2. 6-4, and I am against. I could win the bid.
Item up, permission to advertise for a home inspector contract.
All in favor? Unanimous. There's Bing's thumb finally.
Item up is to do a sole source contract with Lake City Electric for the powwow grounds.
Motion by Tom. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? I'm against. Same reasoning.
With that, that wraps up the February's line committee.
Any other questions for Mark, Holly? Yeah, Martin.
Planning, Pablo Skate Park opening in May.
When?
May?
Okay.
If that's.
AJ was gone today. He had to go pick his daughter up for spring break. I'm getting with them next week on getting some grass seeds set. Hopefully it'll be sprouted by then. And hopefully we'll have our lights put in too.
About it is just making sure the construction schedule for the basketball courts that we're kind of cognizant of that. I don't know. And so it's not set in stone. Carol and I talked about that, May is just an option, so.
Okay. Yeah, so I will check with AJ and the company that's doing the basketball courts because he wanted to get the authorization earlier this week on just ordering all the hoops and everything for it. So they'd be readily on hand to not slow down any other construction. But we will work with them because I know they're going to start in Arlee first and slowly work their way north. Right now.
Good question. I know we didn't do a community cleanup last year because it was year 1 for me and I wasn't sure that process. And I'm coming in, of course, year 2, and I'm still not sure that process. Just wanted to make sure I know who to contact because I'm thinking April or May. And I'm assuming Lands was the one that paid for the dumpster in the past for those, but I wasn't sure.
It was dual duties. I do know Skaha brings in a couple of the big dumpsters in there for their units back in the northwest corner. And the tribes would bring in, I believe, we would assist with the cleanup itself with our dump trailer and everything else. I don't know if we ever ordered one of the dumpsters, but I could take a look at past receipts for the last few years. Okay. We assist with the mowing and assisting others with other items that can't get put into the dumpsters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make sure for our field trip day, March 25th, to go to Agency and Hot Springs and Elmo, that there would be those sites identified for for the skate parks. And then, of course, anything else that we can tag along on that day to make it more meaningful. Well, that's meaningful enough, but if there's other things you wanted to hit, I'd want to make sure that Lands would have those identified. We could make the maximum out of our field trip. Hot Springs. Yeah. And the other thing is really for the basketball courts, we want to make sure that only the Pablo Ronan basketball courts are accurate legal size. And that any for the other towns are shorter, you know? Yeah.
All the other towns will learn to score 100%, and they don't care what.
And Mike, did want to follow up on that for the field trip site? It is for the skate park. Are we looking also at not only just a skate park there, but a basketball court there too?
I haven't talked about the basketball court yet, and the other thing that I'm hoping you're looking at, Mark, is the pathway that the community wants. I don't know if
Tara was working with that. She did talk with some people.
I was wondering if that could just be segregated off from that piece of ground as a public area. Just that the tribe holds it as a public area and we put in that walking path. And there'd be plenty of room to, in the future, maybe put a little dance pavilion in, do a little powwow kind of stuff up that same way. So there'd be a lot of possibilities for that parcel right around where that path will be if we get to go ahead and get the path. And as far as the skate park in Hot Springs, there's a little footwork we have to do yet. It could be in that same area, and the vaulted toilet could be in that same area. There's one other area I want to look at that, talking with the mayor, there's some abandoned street right-of-ways that were never used that are down between the town park and the high school or the grade school. And maybe a traditional skate park wouldn't go in there, but a non-traditional park of sorts. And the mayor was actually describing what they had talked about with a developer before. It would have more urban type of whatever you call the things people go over. But you'd put in like the paths where the roads aren't, and rails and whatever, I don't know what. Skaters could tell you that more than me, but they would be sort of non-typical, but still have the hazards that they like to go on and whatever.
More of
I don't know what they call it.
Urban hazards, skate hazards.
Definitely hazards to me.
Okay.
Well, I was asking Randy if they'd be willing to maybe abandon those right-of-ways to the tribe. And he was kind of looking at that possibility. And so that would be a discussion to have with the mayor and probably their city council. And I don't know, those right-of-ways are not used. So if they're abandoned, they should come to the tribe. So it's not, I was looking at that.
Please, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I know we're all ready to go at the end of the day, but I'm so excited for this new special projects person that you guys are gonna have. I don't know if it's Land's responsibility, but maybe somebody can point me in the right direction. Removal or refurbish those bus stops that are hideous that are throughout some of the different areas. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was a grant that put in all these cute bus shelters, and every one of those are now graffitied and disgusting. So if you guys could, anybody knows how to get rid of those.
That was actually installed through DHRD and transportation. And after refurbing them 3 or 4 different times, they opted to abandon any of that. If the community was not going to police it themselves, they were just going to leave them like that for those individuals. I think if we could just remove the plexiglass and everything else out of it and just have the frame structure and the roof. At least you're sheltered from rain coming directly on you. You might still get the wind and everything, but you wouldn't have the surface to graffiti. Exactly. Thank you.
Lance.
Thank you. Done.
Shay Hoy.